Celestial collision. The rhythmic hum of the anti-gravity transport faded as Noah Mitchell stared up at his new home, a sleek, silver structure perched on the rocky edge of New Horizon, the farthest human research outpost in the Andromeda colony. His breath created small clouds in the cool, artificial atmosphere as he adjusted his glasses nervously. 6 months, he whispered to himself. 6 months to complete my doctoral research, then back to Earth. The thought was both comforting and disappointing. At 28, Noah had spent most of his life avoiding meaningful connections, finding solace instead in the predictable patterns of astrophysics. The entrance iris spiraled open with a soft pneumatic hiss as he approached, biometric scanners confirming his identity. Inside, the temperature was pleasantly warm, contrasting with the perpetual autumn of the terraformed environment outside. "Hello?" Noah called out, his voice echoing through the polished corridors. The colony administration had mentioned he'd be sharing the facility with one other researcher, but provided no details, typical bureaucratic oversight. "In the observatory," came a melodic reply that seemed to shimmer in the air like light through crystal. Following the voice, Noah found himself in a circular room dominated by a massive holographic projection of local star systems. But it wasn't the spectacular celestial display that made him freeze in the doorway. It was her. She stood with her back to him, adjusting something on the control panel. Her skin was a luminescent teal that seemed to pulse subtly with an inner light, contrasting with flowing silver-blue hair that moved as if suspended in water, despite the normal gravity. When she turned, Noah felt his carefully ordered world tilt slightly off-axis. Her eyes were iridescent pools of violet with no discernible pupils, yet somehow he could feel her gaze intensely upon him. Her features were almost human, but with an ethereal quality that no earthborn person could possess. "You must be Dr. Mitchell," she said, gliding toward him with fluid grace. "I'm Arya Valen, xenobiology specialist from Nereid Prime." Noah had encountered non-humans before. It was inevitable in academic circles, but never a Nereidian. They were notoriously selective about off-world assignments. "Just Noah's fine," he managed, extending his hand awkwardly. "I'm still technically a doctoral candidate." Instead of taking his hand, Arya moved closer, tilting her head curiously. She reached up, her fingers, delicate and elegant, stopping just short of touching his face. "Your species greets with hands, yes? I forget sometimes." She smiled, revealing teeth that appeared to be made of something like opal. "Nereidians typically greet by sharing breath." Before Noah could process what that meant, she had moved into his personal space, her face mere inches from his. She inhaled softly, then exhaled a breath that smelled of something like jasmine and ozone. The unexpected intimacy made his heart race. That's, Noah stammered, stepping back instinctively. "Too forward." Arya's expression shifted to something like playful mischief. "Your colony administration assured me you were briefed on interspecies protocols." "They might have mentioned it," Noah lied, making a mental note to thoroughly read the cultural briefing packet he'd ignored on the journey. Arya laughed, a sound like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Over the next few hours, Arya showed Noah around their shared facility. His quarters were opposite hers across a common area that included a kitchen adapted for both human and Nereidian dietary needs. The research labs were separate but adjacent, with a shared data center between them. "Your study of quantum fluctuations in black hole event horizons complements my research on biological adaptations to extreme gravitational environments," Arya explained, her movements fluid and graceful as she manipulated the holographic controls. "I generally work alone," Noah said automatically, immediately regretting his tone when he saw something flicker across Arya's luminescent features. "As you wish," she replied, the musical quality of her voice slightly subdued, though isolation is a curious choice for someone studying cosmic connections. That evening, Noah sat on his bed reviewing research notes when a gentle knock interrupted his concentration. Opening the door, he found a small glowing orb hovering at eye level. It pulsed once, then drifted into his room, projecting a message in shimmering light. "Shared meals build stronger neural pathways. Dinner in the common area in 20 minutes. No interspecies protocols required, unless you wish it. Arya." The orb dissolved into particles of light that swirled briefly around Noah before disappearing. He stood motionless, wondering what exactly he had gotten himself into, and why, despite his usual preference for solitude, he was already looking forward to dinner with his alien housemate.
Quantum entanglement. Noah arrived in the common area exactly 20 minutes after receiving Arya's message, his punctuality a hallmark of his methodical nature. The space had transformed. Soft, ambient light pulsed in rhythm with what sounded like crystalline music, and the air carried unfamiliar but enticing aromas. Arya stood by the food preparation unit, her teal skin catching the light in ways that made her appear to glow from within. She wore what appeared to be a casual Neridian garment, a flowing, diaphanous material that shifted colors with her movements, currently displaying swirls of midnight blue and silver. "I hope you don't mind," she said, gesturing to the atmosphere adjustments. "Standard lighting feels flat to Neridian senses." "It's nice," Noah admitted, surprised to find he meant it. The gentle pulsing light created a strangely comforting ambiance. Dinner was a carefully considered fusion, earth proteins prepared with Neridian spices that seemed to change flavor with each bite. Noah found himself relaxing as Arya explained Neridian cuisine, her animated descriptions punctuated by graceful gestures. "Your research," Arya said, leaning forward with those pupilless violet eyes, somehow conveying intense interest. "You're measuring quantum fluctuations at event horizons to prove information isn't truly lost." Noah blinked in surprise. "You've read my proposal?" "Of course. As I mentioned, our research areas have intriguing overlap." She reached across the table, her finger stopping just short of his hand. "Neridians evolved in a high-gravity environment with unusual quantum properties. We perceive quantum states differently than humans." "How so?" Noah found himself genuinely curious, his usual social awkwardness temporarily forgotten. "It's difficult to explain in standard English." Arya's hair shifted like silk underwater as she tilted her head thoughtfully. "Perhaps I could show you someday." Over the next 2 weeks, Noah settled into an unexpected rhythm with his alien housemate. Each morning, he'd find research notes floating in his lab, holographic annotations that offered perspectives on quantum mechanics he'd never considered. Arya had an intuitive understanding of subatomic behavior that complemented his mathematical approach. One evening, Noah entered his lab to find Arya already there, manipulating his holographic model of a black hole's event horizon. "I hope you don't mind," she said without looking up. "I had an insight about your calculation matrix." You should have been annoyed at the intrusion into his workspace, but found himself moving closer instead. "What kind of insight?" "You're approaching the quantum foam as a two-dimensional plane, but it behaves more like—" Her fingers moved through the hologram, reshaping it into a complex multidimensional pattern. "Like this." As Noah leaned in to examine her modifications, he became acutely aware of her proximity. Arya radiated a subtle warmth and a faint scent like ozone after lightning. When her arm brushed against his, a small electric sensation passed between them, making him start. "Static discharge," Arya explained, with a smile that suggested it might be something more. "Happens when Neridians get excited about physics." The following day, Noah found a strange object on his desk, a crystalline structure that seemed to change shape when not observed directly. Attached was a note in Aria's flowing script. A quantum puzzle for my homeworld. The solution requires perspectives from both our species. That evening, frustration mounting after hours trying to solve the puzzle alone, Noah finally sought out Aria in the common area. "I can't solve it," he admitted, holding out the crystal. "It's not meant to be solved alone," Aria explained, patting the space beside her on the couch. "Neridian puzzle crystals require multiple consciousness inputs." When Noah sat beside her, Aria took his hand, placing the crystal between their palms. The touch of her skin sent another electric tingle up his arm. "Close your eyes," Aria instructed softly. "Neridians can perceive quantum states directly. Humans cannot, but through proximity I can share the perception, if you're willing." Noah hesitated only briefly before closing his eyes. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then, gradually, he felt a strange sensation, as if his consciousness was extending beyond his body. The crystal between their hands seemed to pulse with information he couldn't quite grasp. "Don't try to understand it." Aria's voice seemed to come from both outside and inside his mind. "Just experience it." Suddenly, Noah could feel the quantum states within the crystal. Probability waves collapsing and reforming, particles existing in multiple positions simultaneously. It was overwhelming, beautiful, and intimate in ways he couldn't articulate. When he opened his eyes, the crystal had transformed into a complex geometric shape that seemed to represent their combined mental energies. Aria was watching him with an expression of wonder. "You have remarkable quantum sensitivity for a human," she said softly. "The connection formed much more strongly than I anticipated." Noah became aware they were still holding hands, the crystal glowing gently between their palms. What startled him most wasn't the alien technology or the lingering sense of expanded consciousness. It was how reluctant he felt to break the connection.
Gravitational pull. The shared quantum experience with the crystal marked a turning point. Noah found himself seeking out Aria's company rather than retreating to solitude. Their research began to merge, with daily collaborative sessions that often ran late into the night. The colony's artificial day-night cycle seemed increasingly irrelevant as they lost themselves in scientific discovery and each other's company. 3 weeks into their collaboration, Noah woke from a vivid dream of floating through space, surrounded by quantum particles he could somehow feel and manipulate. The sensation was so real that when he opened his eyes, he half expected to see star fields instead of his quarter's ceiling. "You felt it too?" Aria asked when he entered the common area, her expression knowing. "Felt what?" Noah asked, though something in him already knew the answer. "The quantum dream space." She approached him with that fluid grace that still captivated him. Neridians enter it naturally during rest cycles. Humans typically cannot, unless... "Unless what?" Noah asked when she paused. "Unless there's a developing quantum resonance between minds." Aria's iridescent eyes studied him intently. "It's rare, but not unprecedented between our species. Extended proximity, shared focus, emotional alignment, these can create temporary neural entanglement." Noah should have been alarmed by the concept of neural entanglement with an alien consciousness, but instead found himself intrigued. "Is that why I've been able to visualize quantum states more clearly lately?" Aria nodded. "Your mathematical models have improved remarkably, and my understanding of human theoretical frameworks has expanded." She hesitated before adding, "The connection is beneficial scientifically, but there are other implications you should be aware of." Before she could elaborate, an emergency alert blared through the facility. The holographic display in the common area activated automatically, showing a massive solar flare erupting from the nearby star. "The facility shield should hold," Noah said, reading the data scrolling across the display. "The observation," Aria gasped. "The quantum measurement equipment isn't protected by the main shields." Noah realized with horror that months of research data could be lost. Without thinking, he sprinted toward the observation, Aria calling after him. The corridor to the observation was already bathing in warning lights, the radiation levels climbing as the solar flare's leading edge reached the colony. Inside the observation, Noah worked frantically to secure the equipment and data cores. The radiation alarms increased in urgency as he transferred the final data sets. "Noah, Arya's voice came through the intercom. "The shield gap is widening. You need to evacuate immediately." "Almost done," he called back, his fingers flying across the control panel. Suddenly, the observation's secondary power failed. The lights went out and the door mechanism locked in safety mode. Noah was trapped as radiation levels continued to rise. "Arya, the door's sealed," he shouted, a spike of fear shooting through him. For several long moments, there was no response. Then, unexpectedly, Noah felt a strange presence in his mind, like the quantum connection they'd shared, but stronger, more directed. "Focus on me," Arya's voice seemed to speak directly into his thoughts. "The connection between us. Use it now." Noah closed his eyes, concentrating on the strange mental link that had been building between them. He could sense Arya's presence, her consciousness reaching for his across the facility. The emergency override panel, 3 meters to your left, hidden behind the instrument panel, her thoughts guided him. Moving carefully in the darkness, Noah felt along the wall exactly where Arya had indicated. His fingers found a recessed panel exactly where she had indicated, something he'd never noticed before. As radiation levels approached dangerous thresholds, Noah activated the emergency override. The door slid open and he staggered into the corridor where Arya waited. She caught him as his legs gave way, the radiation exposure making him dizzy. "You knew about that panel?" he asked, as she helped him toward the medical bay. "How did you reach me?" "The quantum resonance between us," Arya explained, her arm supporting him firmly around his waist. "When the communications failed, I reached for you the Neridian way. I wasn't sure it would work with a human." In the medical bay, Arya administered the standard radiation exposure treatment. Her hands moved with gentle precision as she placed neural regenerators against Noah's temples. "The resonance between us is stronger than I anticipated. What you experienced, the ability to sense my thoughts, to see through my knowledge, that's not supposed to happen without intentional bonding rituals." Noah studied her luminescent features, seeing concern and something deeper reflected there. "What does that mean?" "It means," Arya said, her voice soft but intense, "that our minds are naturally compatible on a quantum level. Among my people, such natural resonance is considered significant." As the medical devices completed their work, Noah reached up and took Arya's hand. The electric sensation between them had grown familiar now, almost essential. "Show me," he said simply. "Show me what this resonance means to your people." Arya's eyes widened, the iridescent violet depths showing surprise and hope. "Are you certain? The Neridian bonding consciousness is not to be entered lightly. Once experienced fully, it cannot be unexperienced." Noah thought about the solitary life he had planned, the emotional distance he had always maintained. Then he thought about the expanding universe he'd discovered since meeting Arya, not just scientifically, but within himself. "I'm certain." Arya leaned forward until their foreheads touched. The contact sent waves of sensation through Noah's mind, like ripples expanding across a cosmic ocean. Slowly, deliberately, she exhaled a breath of that jasmine ozone scent, which he now inhaled willingly. As their breath mingled, Noah felt his consciousness expanding once again. But this time, instead of sensing quantum particles, he sensed Arya herself. Her thoughts, memories, and emotions opened to him as his opened to hers. It was terrifying and exhilarating and intimate beyond anything physical. Within that shared mental space, he understood at last what she had been trying to tell him all along. The playful proximities, the accidental touches, the shared puzzles, they hadn't merely been flirtation. They had been Arya's way of testing our quantum compatibility, of seeing whether a human mind could harmonize with her Neridian consciousness. And against all probability, they had found resonance across the stars.
Atmospheric pressure. 3 days after their first true mental connection, Noah and Arya had established a new rhythm to their shared existence. Their research accelerated dramatically as they developed the ability to exchange complex scientific concepts without the limitations of verbal language. In the lab, they moved in perfect synchrony, anticipating each other's needs and building upon each other's insights with unprecedented efficiency. "Your theta waves are remarkably adaptive," Dr. Eliza Chen, the colony's chief medical officer, observed as she reviewed their neural scans. "I've never seen a human brain reorganize its connectivity patterns like this." Noah sat on the examination table while Arya stood nearby, both connected to the neural mapping equipment.
Though they weren't physically touching, Noah could feel Aria's presence in his mind like a warm current. "Is it dangerous?" he asked, though he already sensed the answer through their connection. Dr. Chen shook her head. "Not medically. Your brain chemistry is stable, blood pressure normal. If anything, your neural efficiency has improved." She glanced between them with professional curiosity. "But I'm required to note this development in my official reports to colony administration." Aria's concern flashed through their link before she voiced it. "The Interspecies Relations Committee will want to evaluate the situation." The doctor nodded. "They've already requested a meeting tomorrow morning." That evening, as they sat in the observatory watching the stars through the reinforced dome, Noah felt Aria's anxiety despite her outward calm. "What aren't you telling me?" he asked gently, taking her hand. The contact deepened their mental connection immediately. Images and memories flowed from her mind to his, previous human-Neridian connections that had been forcibly severed by bureaucratic intervention, the psychological trauma that had resulted for both species. "The committee fears what they don't understand," Aria explained, her silver-blue hair shifting like cosmic dust around her shoulders. "Quantum consciousness sharing doesn't fit into their regulatory frameworks." Through their link, Noah sent a subtle warning as she sensed her rising frustration. "Careful, they're building a case for immediate separation." Noah took a calming breath before continuing. "Administrator, our consciousness integration has led to significant scientific breakthroughs." He activated the holographic display they'd prepared, showing the accelerated results of their combined research. "We've advanced understanding of quantum information preservation by nearly 5 years in just weeks." The committee members studied the data with varying degrees of comprehension. One of the non-human representatives, a silicon-based entity from Rigel, leaned forward with obvious interest. "These findings on quantum coherence across biological systems are remarkable," it stated, in a synthesized voice. "The scientific merit isn't in question," Administrator Hammond dismissed. "The precedent is the concern. If we allow unrestricted consciousness bonding between species, we risk diplomatic and psychological complications we cannot predict." Aria stepped forward, her teal skin luminescent under the harsh administrative lighting. "With respect, Administrator, your concerns are based on theoretical risks rather than observed evidence." "The Neridian Science Directorate disagrees," Hammond countered, displaying a formal communication. "They've ordered your immediate return for evaluation and potential consciousness recalibration." The term sent a chill through their shared mental space. Consciousness recalibration was effectively a partial mind wipe, a severing of specific neural patterns deemed problematic. "Now," Aria's thought came to Noah urgently. Noah activated the second part of their presentation, the results of the rapid research they'd conducted through the night, comparing their neural patterns to historical records of other interspecies collaborations. "What you're seeing," Noah explained, highlighting specific data points, "is evidence that Aria and I represent a naturally occurring quantum resonance that exists independent of cultural context or regulatory frameworks." Meaning, Aria continued seamlessly, that attempting to sever our connection would cause significant neural damage to both of us. Our consciousness patterns have naturally entangled at the quantum level. This isn't mere cultural exchange or even intentional bonding. It's more akin to a naturally occurring phenomenon. The committee members exchanged concerned glances as they processed this information. "We're not asking for policy changes," Noah added, sensing an opening in their collective hesitation. "We're requesting research status to be classified as a unique case study under scientific observation rather than administrative restriction." As the committee deliberated in hushed tones, Noah and Aria maintained their mental connection, each drawing strength from the other's presence. "Whatever happens," Noah's thoughts flowed to her, "I won't let them separate us." "There's something I haven't shown you yet," Aria responded, her mental voice tinged with both hope and trepidation. "If they rule against us, there's one more option." Through their link, she shared the possibility, a depth of quantum integration that would make separation neurologically impossible,
without causing permanent damage to both of them. It would mean becoming something neither fully human nor fully Neridian, but a new consciousness existing at the intersection of both species. As Administrator Hammond called the hearing back to order, Noah and Aria stood together, awaiting the decision that would determine not only their future, but potentially the future of interspecies relations throughout the colony.